exactly what it is. Sometimes there is some things that are deliberated or confabulated, and whatever is confabulated is easier said and easier done. But sometimes what you deliberate is not exactly what you want to say, and your duty to yourself, your duty and purpose, must be is the forefront of your character, is the forefront of who you are, is the forefront of who you have become, and is the forefront of who you will be. There is no great sadness over me today, but great contemplation in what I must say today. It is not it is not to be taken lightly. It is not to be taken jokingly. It is the true sum total of my experience, what I have learned, what I have observed, and so forth. What have I have endured? No man or woman or child that has ever endured humiliation, torture, or abuse is ever placed back in the same house, hold with the same people for further victimization and abuse and torture. I look at that example today as those women in Illinois that were captured by that Asian man. What if all those girls had to return to that house? What example would that be setting? Would that be doctor recommended or lawyer recommended? I mean, who would recommend such a thing? To be in the same house, amongst the same people, amongst the same stimuli that you were victimized, raped, tortured, drugged, and abused. Who would do such an evil thing? And after that, do you say that it never happened? Does it happen because it happened in a house on an individual basis? Is it untrue because it happened in an individual basis overseas, let's say in South Korea, with service members who you work with? Does it become less believable? Do you take the story of a 37-year-old African American citizen, well established, upper middle class, successful, matriculated with adversities, intelligent, able to communicate, dutiful to community and society, never been in trouble with the law, and after 4 years, you say that they are not mentally well or physically well? Do you say that after they have reported abuse, torture, rape? Do you accept the story of that black man, that black Jamaican descent man, homosexual? That's part of it. Let's not leave that out. That's the prime target and the prime basis of everything. Do you accept that story? Or do you say gay and transgendered people are evil and different and indifferent and worthless after you have used them in your institution as the US Army? I am not the first, but I am the first that will speak out. I am not the first that has been given the label, but I am the first to use this medium to speak out. I am not the first, but I am the first who encountered many leaders. Hillary Clinton, Dick Cheney, the list goes on during this time. Larry King was in South Korea at one point. and etc. Do you do you accept what the media tells you, or do you accept the story of someone else? Could you believe your own story? Would you believe your own flesh and blood? Would you side with your own flesh and blood over money, over somebody, a general? What is a general? Who gives a bullshit? It's just a title when blood ranks higher than titles. Would you abandon that for 30 pieces of silver or however amount of money it may be? So forth has been my experience. So forth I must tell. So forth I contemplated with a heavy heart today to come and to say these words. I came to say it. I detest the Army Nurse Corps and nurses in itself as a body, not as individuals, for what I went through. And I will, if you give me the chance to explain one day, you will become to understand why. Some things cannot be explained in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 20 minutes. But notice, I realized something. When I was growing up, I learned all things, absorbed all things, and I wanted all things. What was most important to me? It is obvious that I grew up with the Bible. It is obvious that I wanted truth, and I wanted to understand, and I wanted love. That is true. And such was my little Pollyanna outlook at my Pollyanna life, successful as it was before encountering the U.S. Army and even nursing. I realize now in my life that I came to bring forth, I call it premonition what it is. I knew my life had to be an example to something. I have been praying for this all my life, with tears and in loneliness. At this time, I acknowledge that that's what it was. I knew when I look at the Hippocratic Oath and the hypocrisy behind it, and the indifference, how nurses can treat each other, as well as healthcare, how, especially in the army, how it can be railroaded, derailed, and botched and misrepresented. I realized that I came to set I knew, it's hard to explain since I was a child, that something would have to explain itself. And I don't leave with enmity, but with pity and sorrow for what I have seen and what I have endured. The Hippocratic Oath, for hypocrites, Hippolyta, all the way back to the Greeks. And since I am not a hypocrite, I learned what the hypocrites learned. I saw what the hypocrites did, and I lived at the hand of the hypocrites. And the hypocrites are really hypocrites to themselves. Neither can I say, put all in one bag. You can never do that. There is always one or two people above the rest. And then secondly, you must stand up for what you know, for what you have learned, and what is dutiful and good to you. So henceforth, I want God to bless me at the end of my days, when this life has taken its course naturally. Then I will be happy